Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Event Industry News podcast. My name is James Dickson, and as always, I wish you a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you tune into today's EIN podcast from. Welcome along. It's still very much summertime here in the UK. We're back to having a bit of decent weather today, and I do like to put into context when we're recording these because we're never quite sure when people are going to listen to them. Obviously, that's the way podcasts are consumed now. Is never quite in the time that things go out. So today is Monday, the 1st of August, and on today's episode, we're going to be talking things events for entrepreneurs. And my guest today is a first-time guest on the Event Industry News podcast. I'm delighted to introduce the founder of Hay Events, Tinique Hay, who joins the podcast today, as I said, for the first time. Tinique, welcome to the Event Industry podcast, and thank you for joining us.
Hello, James. Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to get started to discuss all things events and entrepreneurship.
Fabulous. We've got there's a little bit of a delay on the line today between myself and Tinique. So if there are a bit of a pause between the conversation, it's just the two of us allowing for that little bit of delay as we're communicating via the platform that we use to record the podcast. But as we said, we're going to be talking about events for entrepreneurs. Before we get into that, Tinique, it would be good, I suppose, to put into a bit of context your own professional background. Tell us a little bit about what you do, the founding of Hay Events, and what Hay Events now does as a business.
Yeah, so I've been working within the event industry for 8+ years. I did a degree at the University of Hertfordshire. I instantly fell in love with the course and everything about events management. And then I graduated in 2014, and then I ventured into the world of venues and marketing. So I was mainly in the sales and events team, working in historic venues. So one was called the Royal Foundation St Catherine's, which was situated in Canary Wharf.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one was 10 to 11 Carlton House Terrace, which is owned by the British Academy.
Right.
I had so many years of experience planning and managing events, from weddings to films. So Disney was my client. So Cruella, I don't know if anyone's seen Cruella or went to see it in the cinemas. They were my client, and they actually filmed at 10 to 11 Carlton House Terrace. This was in 2019, just before the global pandemic. But it was an amazing experience. A 2-day exclusive hire of the whole venue. It was just from start to finish. I helped with the logistics and on-site management, which was
and how did Hay Events come about then? Because obviously you are Tinique Hay. It is Hay Events. It's your business.
In 2018, I thought, do you know what? Yeah, so it's my business. So in 2018, I had a light bulb moment, as all entrepreneurs do. And I was like, do you know what? I absolutely love what I do. And I would align my passion, purpose, and skills to start my own events management company. And for me, building a company is all in a legacy, which is why I've put Hay in Hay Events, which is my surname. And it's more of building a legacy for my future family as well as the next generation, to support and ensure Hay Events is still up and running live once I move on, and it can still be running by my friends, by my family. And so in 2018 I created Hay Events, which Hay Events helps and small business owners plan impactful events to increase their brand awareness, grow their community, and boost sales. So I did create in 2018 Hay Events, but I didn't officially launch it until 2020. So yes, lockdown happened. I was like, oh my God. At the time, I was still at 10 to 11 Carlton House Terrace. So during the time of lockdown, I really utilized that time to really elevate my virtual event management skills, because virtual events was completely new to me. I love in-person events, so I didn't know nothing about virtual events. So I utilized that time within 2020 and 2021 to really hone in on virtual events and hybrid events. And to date, January 2022, I officially left my 9-to-5 job, and I've gone in Hay Events, helping entrepreneurs and small business owners.
And I suppose that the first thing that interests me about that is that You are here today, and we're going to talk about the power of events for entrepreneurs and how your events business helps entrepreneurs. But you yourself are an entrepreneur. So I suppose you're coming at this maybe with a double-edged sword in that respect. Why was it important for you to sort of maybe target entrepreneurs specifically and small businesses? Did you see an opportunity for businesses who maybe had not considered running or planning events previously, and how they could utilize, the power of events for their own businesses where previously they maybe had not done so?
Yeah, I saw there was a big gap in the market to support entrepreneurs and small business owners. Given that, yes, like you said, I am an entrepreneur myself, so I thought there's no one out there supporting entrepreneurs to elevate their brand, to be seen and heard in front of their targeted audience, both online and offline. And I also did marketing research as well before I launched Hay Events, and really got into understanding whether there's a need for my services for entrepreneurs and small business owners. And I found that there is a huge need for it, and it's very a niche sector. And I'm happy that I niched down into this sector, because it's amazing to see transformations of clients' businesses through using the power of event strategy in order for them to elevate their brand. So I could have gone down route or conferences. I was like, no, do you know what? Let me find what I'm really passionate about and who I am as a person, which I am an entrepreneur and small business owner, and let me help those in need of full event management.
And is
support.
it event management support? Do you see events for small businesses being their own events that they are running for their clients? Is it allowing those small businesses maybe to participate in things like trade shows and conferences that maybe they've not participated in before? It can be, I suppose, both of those things. Is there any sort of particular avenue that you tend to guide clients down, or could it be both of those things that I just mentioned?
Yeah, so it's both of them things. Majority of the time is they want to put on their own events, and their pain point is they don't have any time to do it themselves, and it's
Mhm.
not events is not in their area of expertise. So they really want to plan an event for their business to elevate their brand, such as business launches, product launches, networking events within for their business, for their company, but they just don't have time. So that's where my event man will come in to support them from start to finish, from finding the perfect venue to source the suppliers to on-site management. On the other side as well, like you said, there's other small business owners into trade shows and expeditions. So that's where I come along as well with the event strategy, and also supporting them on the day of the trade show. So that way, when people come to their stand, they can sell their services, sell what they do. And then I'll be in the background making sure everything runs smoothly for them.
Have the clients that you worked with so far generally come from similar types of business background, or is it a fairly broad spectrum? I suppose it would be useful to maybe get an idea of the business sectors that some of the clients you've worked with so far.
It's quite broad actually. It's either they come from a wellness and
Mhm.
health, so they coach within the wellness, healthcare, and
Right.
mental health sector. There's another sector, artists, so creatives. I get lots of creatives, entrepreneurs who want to put on either a music event or a spoken word event, poetry event. So I would say my clientele range from coaches within the wellness sector as well as creatives.
How difficult is it currently to, I suppose, get an events business off the ground, given when you started it, and the sort of the the way the event sector was feeling sort of post pandemic? That must have been hugely difficult,
Mm.
to get the business off the ground, and start building a client base, but b, in such a busy sort of competitive marketplace, how difficult is it to sort of find an audience for some of these small businesses? How careful has your strategy had to be in terms of social media presence for some of your clients, database building, things like that?
Yeah, it was really hard during the pandemic to build my clientele. and to generate leads and clients, given that obviously during the pandemic, everyone was really scared. Plan events, where I came in on the spin of let me help you with the strategy side. So yes, at the moment we can't do any events in 2020 and things start to open up in 2021, but let me help you strategize on forward thinking, forward planning, because events are longevities and see it as a long-term investment. So that's what I really utilize that time to really help and support my clients with event strategy as well as virtual event management, which I did quite event my clients was really good. And in terms of my clientele and how I'll reach out to them and how sensitive the industry I am in, it's more strategy of my content and how am I going to provide value to my clients to show them that planning an event is one event will help you increase your brand awareness. And I tend to get traction from Instagram and also LinkedIn recommendations. So I prior to Hay events, I did a lot of friends and family events, and I got recommended. So that's how I started to build up my portfolio through recommendation and word of mouth.
It's excuse me. Interesting when I look at the small business side of things, because again, this is something that I'd like to ask. Were the clients very much on board with the idea of doing events? And as you said earlier on, some of them just don't have the capacity within their teams in order to deliver them. Or have you also had experiences of working with potential new clients who have effectively needed convincing that an event could be relevant to them? Has there been a mix of both, or has it generally been the first one that I described?
I would genuinely say the first one, in the sense of you want to plan an event, but they just don't have time to plan it. So that's where I come in with the pain point of, okay, you don't have time, but let me take this from you, from your hands, because I know you've been thinking of an event for some time now, and you just don't have time or the resources, in-house resources. The staff members are doing other responsibilities within the business, where I can take that off their hands and your hands, because I normally go straight to the CEO or director and more as show them the opportunities from hiring myself from Hay events to support them. So I would say it was the first point of they don't have time and they see the true value in events and they need my support to help them.
Value is often derived, particularly by sort of CEOs and that sort of boardroom director level person. Value is usually derived at pound signs, and ultimately events need a budget to run. So what's it been like working with companies who see the value in potentially doing an event, don't have the capacity to do it themselves, want to make money from it, but also need to sort of set a budget in order to be able to deliver a successful event? From that sort of business strategy point of view, how in depth do you work with the client, or is it very much just a case that they will give you a budget and say, this is the type of event that we want to deliver?
So generally speaking, they normally say this is the budget that we have, but then from there I do an event strategy session with them to really hone in on what is their main purpose of the event, what is the objectives that they want to achieve from the event. And then I also do an event budgeting plan as well. So yes, they give me an overall budget of, let's say, 10K or 20K, but then I break that down to different sectors. Okay, so how much venue hire would be, whether they want day delegate rate, in terms of marketing strategy, do you want for advertisement, and what is the return on investment? So I do a detailed strategy plan with them prior to me starting my full event management service. So I would say, yes, I really have that personal one-to-one experience with my clients before going into the planning side. So it'll be strategy, then planning, and then evaluation.
And what about sort of other revenue streams and monetization of things like sponsorship opportunities? Have you worked with clients that whose events that you're planning effectively present a business opportunities for other companies, so where they could actually be making money through sponsorship opportunities with third parties? Is that something that you've got involved in?
Yes, 100% of the revenues of how I present to my clients ways that they can get sponsorship and money towards their event. So, for example, I did an event for a client who owns a travel industry company, and she was sponsored by Google. Not only that, she was sponsored by TUI as well, EasyJet. So all these big brands were able to buy into the sponsorship package and support the funding of her event, which was amazing. So that took place on the 30th of June this year. So yeah,
It's great, and it might seem an obvious question to ask, but obviously it's one of the, I suppose, when you look at the budget side of things for event organisers, that a lot of event organisers, particularly in sort of I suppose non-event related businesses, see it as just outgoing expenditure. I'm amazed at how often businesses often don't see that they could be making money
yeah,
back into their event by bringing in third-party sponsors and people who might have a similar sort of vested interest in the audience that they're ultimately going to be presenting to.
I totally agree with that. People just see it as a luxurious, oh, I don't want to invest in planning an event. But gaining sponsorship is really beneficial because not only that, you'll be seen and heard by their audience, they can also promote you as well. And it could be a collaboration ongoing. And this can help grow your business to new avenues and help clients as well. So I really do push sponsorship because it is beneficial to small business owners.
Does social media reach play a part in that sponsorship now? Is it not just about the actual audience that may be there attending the event itself, but depending on the client that you're working with, if their social media reach is of a of particular value, I'm guessing that that's similarly going to present opportunities for sponsors.
100% at the moment, social media strategy is on a high in terms of an event marketing, and that's something that I really hone in for my clients as well. If a sponsor has a high following on social media, that can also attract people to buy in tickets to their event, or also people are interested and keen to hear a bit more about their event as well. So I always tend to ask my clients to collaborate with the sponsors by doing like an IG live or a LinkedIn live or a takeover. So that way the event is being seen and heard not only by the sponsors audience as well as by them as well. Really, really beneficial, I feel, gaining sponsorship and also implementing a social media strategy within your event marketing plan.
To give us an idea about the sort of the spectrum in terms of audience numbers, have the clients that you've worked with ranged, the types of events that you've delivered for your clients ranged in quite varying sizes in terms of the audience numbers? And what sort of challenges does that pose to you as an organizer when you might be flipping from one client who's running a relatively small event to another client whose event might be considerably bigger? Is it easily transferable, or is it quite a difficult juggle for you as an organizer to work with that sort of spectrum?
Seems to be ranging from, like, let's say intimate of 50 all the way up to possibly 250, 300. I would say it was not difficult for me to transition from planning like a small 50-person conference to a large scale networking event, just dinner for 350, given that I've arranged and supported events of this caliber before, and I'm able to multitask as well. So I think logistics comes into it and forward planning as well. So I love the variation I get planning small scale events to large scale events, and I think it all comes down to being able to organized, and as well as time management and just prioritizing tasks accordingly, I would say. But no, I don't find it quite difficult to transition from a small scale to a large scale.
How important is it for a company like yours and for other event organization companies out there, and maybe smaller event organizers, to be tuned in to new business opportunities? And today we've been discussing about how you are supporting smaller businesses and entrepreneurs in delivering their events. Are you constantly on the lookout for new opportunities, new businesses springing up, new services being offered by individuals where you think actually they might benefit from running some sort of live event?
Yes, 100%. I'm always on the lookout for any networking events or industry events that I can actually talk to these small business owners and entrepreneurs, and also associations. So the Federation of Small Businesses, how can I best support their associations and members within that association go into their networking events, because they've got non-member networking events, which I may actually go into looking into being association. But yeah, it's key for me. I'm always on the lookout for networking events or industry events that I can put myself forward to support these entrepreneurs and small business owners.
But what advice would you give to maybe other event organizers who are listening to this, who maybe just recently started their own business? Because, as you've said, you looked at starting Hay events, when you were still working elsewhere. There was a planning process. You started it, in 2020 and then went full time in 2021. So it is, relatively speaking, a new business. From an advice point of view, and I'm going to talk specifically about geography here, have you focused very much on working within the area in which you're based, so that geographically you can get out to see clients really easily, so that you can develop that face-to-face contact as it was allowed when things opened up in 21? Or have you worked on a wider geographical scale in terms of clients and locations of the actual events?
At the moment, I worked within my area, which is London, but I do tend to get clients who want to plan an event outside of London. So I had a client who wanted me to support with a conference in Harrogate, which was at the end of June, which was really good. And then I also supported him in Brighton, and I've got one in Manchester. So at the moment, yes, I do normally focus on London, but I can branch out to outside of London. And in terms of my advice to someone who wants to start up their events management company or agency, for me, I'm all about strategy and planning ahead. I didn't want to just leave my 9 to 5 not knowing what I wanted to do. I used that time, like I said, to really strategize, really hone in on who is my target audience, what is their pain points, really get to understand who I want to serve within my business. And I also got a business coach as well who specializes in events management. So I utilize that time to really work with my coach to build up my strategy, to build up my plan of action, in order for me to have a clear vision of what I want to do and happen in Hay events, and how best can I connect with entrepreneurs and small business owners to offer my services. So for my advice, it would be to really strategize and take time out to really think about who you want to serve, what is your purpose, what is their pain points, and what services are you going to offer that will help them, and also your USP. What is your USP? There's so many event company and professionals who want to start up their own business, but what is your USP? What makes you different from anyone else? And I think for me is I really honed in on entrepreneurs and small business owners. No one out there has done that, and I did my research on that. So no one out there is doing that. So yeah, I'll just say definitely research and invest in a business coach or mentor who can support you through your journey.
Interested. I'm going to throw it's not a counter argument to that, but there are also, I dare say, you've been presented with opportunities, as I have in my professional life, that come along almost unexpectedly, and you might not be prepared for them. But it's a situation where you either say yes or no, and if you say no, you're likely not to get that opportunity again. Have there been also, as much as you can strategize and plan and prepare yourself for a business launch, or do your research in advance, I suppose you've also got to be prepared and geared up for those unexpected opportunities where they could be too good to turn down, and you've just got to go with it.
Yeah, 100%. There's sometimes when you're an entrepreneur, you're scared that you're not going to find any business, or because I'm a freelancer as well. So you're scared, okay, 1 month I'm not going to get any income, so I'm going to take anything and everything. But For me, it's just make sure whatever you're taking, you can manage, because you don't want to bleed into a burnout, and you don't want to feel stressed that money's not coming in, and you gained a client who's not aligned with your values, not aligned with what you want to do and what you want to serve, but you gained them because you're scared and fearful. But 100%, sometimes there is opportunities that you just want to take. So when I first left my 9 to 5, I was like, let me just take anything because I'm scared. But now I can selectively decide, okay, these are the people that I really want to attract, and if I get this opportunity, let me reevaluate how important it is and what value I'm going to get from taking this opportunity. Whether they're going to pay me less, but there's a wider opportunity for them for exposure to me, my Hay event to be exposed, or whether they're going to pay me more with less hours so I can manage Hay events as well as support with freelance work as well. So that's what I think.
That's interesting. And on a personal level, has it given you a sense of professional fulfillment, reaching a stage where maybe you can choose to work with people who do align with the sort of values that you may have, rather than, as you said, just saying yes to people because it's going to bring in, another month's worth of income?
Yeah, 100%. It's great to know that I'm able to attract clients who align with my vision and value. And I know that if I turn something away, they didn't see my value of what I'm charging them. I'm charging them a high ticket margin, high ticket price, because this is my value. It's affecting my value. And if I can't see that, I know that there's another opportunity that's going to come my way if I continue to be consistent and continue to put myself out. I know there's always opportunities out there, but I need to believe in myself, and that whoever's going to come to me, they will be aligned with my value, and they can see the value that I'm going to be offering them in terms of full event management service as well as strategy.
We've been talking on the podcast today to Tinique Hay, who is the founder of Hay Events and has joined us from her base in London to talk about entrepreneurs, both the entrepreneurs and the small businesses that Hay Events serve in terms of delivering their events, but also, and in some respects, I suppose more importantly, giving us a little bit of an insight into some of the values and the strategies that she put together when Tinique started and launched Hay Events, and how that journey has gone so far. Tinique, thank you very much for joining the podcast today. It's been great to have you here. If people want to find out a little bit more about what you do, how can they get in touch with you? Things like websites, social media. If there's anything you want to throw out there, now's the time to do it.
Yep, so feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. So my full name, Tinique Hay. Also check out my website, which is www.hayevents.co.uk. And I'm very much active on Instagram. So follow me at Hay Events, HAY event. For anyone who is an entrepreneur or small business owner, or if you are an entrepreneur and small business owner listening, please do not hesitate to send live events into your marketing strategy. So yes, thank you again, James, for having me.
I'm really sorry. We've just lost Tinique there, just as she was just wrapping up. But I think she was just saying that very much if any small businesses who are listening to this today, please feel free to reach out to her. As you said, at Hay Events is Tinique's Instagram, and hayevents.co.uk is their website. Tinique may just be able to get back on the line and join us before we wrap up. But whilst we're waiting on that, we can just wrap up here. Tinique's joined us back on the line. I was just saying, Tinique, that that people can contact you on hayevents.co.uk or through Instagram at Hay Events if they are a small business owner, an entrepreneur, or somebody listening to this who just wants to find out a little bit more about your own business. And before we wrap up, I was just going to say you can do the same thing with Event Industry News if you want to find out a little bit more about what we're up to. If you are listening to this podcast today via one of your audio-only podcast platforms, don't forget that you can go over to eventindustrynews.com and check out the latest news, features, and supplements. And of course, all of the previous versions of our podcast, they're all available via the eventindustrynews.com website. If you're watching this today and you're already on the website, hello to you. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget that all of our podcasts are available in the opposite direction. You can go to wherever you get your audio podcasts from, search for the Event Industry News Podcast, and you can tune in to the nearly 300, I think, episodes that are available to listen to, covering all manner of information within the events industry. It brings us to the end of today's episode, and our thanks again to our guest today, Tinique Hay from Hay Events, talking about the power of events for entrepreneurs and small businesses. Thank you to her for tuning in. Thank you to all of our guests for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next edition of the podcast. Thanks very much, everybody. Stay safe.